Hi and welcome along to AFTV for the Invincible podcast. We're doing a special today, a live Invincible podcast to pay tribute to an absolute legend, not just of Arsenal, but of Everton as well, and a guy that was just a real fan's favourite. And I'm not just talking about a fan's favourite when he was on the pitch. Even when he was off the pitch, with the punditry he did, with everything he did, the way he touched people, and we're talking about Super Kevin Campbell. Joining me to discuss it, we've got Lee, we've got Julian as well. And the reason why we thought we'd do this tribute and do it as a live is because, you know, we all knew him personally. We all met him and became good friends with him. And we've all got some, you know, all of us got some loads of stories, you know, that we can tell around him. And of course, it was the really sad news last week, Saturday, the 15th of June, that the horrible news came through that Kevin Campbell had passed away. I remember Lee was away on holiday over in Dubai, and Lee was actually the first person to message me and say, Robbie, listen, you know, sad news, he's actually passed away. And do you know the funny thing about that, Lee, is that Richard, who we all know, I had a meeting with him the day before. Yeah. And we were actually talking about it and saying that the fact that, you know, because remember, he'd gone into hospital a couple of weeks before, and at that time it was looking very, very bleak for him. And I was saying to Richard, I was going, the fact that it's like, you know, look, a couple of weeks now and he's still going strong, or, you know, he's obviously still fighting, you know, that's maybe a good sign. And then got that horrible news the day after. So we want you guys to let us know, you know, in this live, you know, what you thought of Kevin Campbell, what type of person he was, how he touched you guys as well. And we'll read some of those out. And also I want to hear from you two as well. I mean, let me start with you, Lee. You knew him personally very, very well. I know you guys always used to go out together. You used to always have a laugh together. I mean, the news was shocking, wasn't it?
Yeah. Look, I knew that it weren't good, and obviously I've been up to see him in hospital, but so I knew that it weren't good. But you know, so I knew it was going to happen. It was going to happen, but for it to happen, it still would be body blow and everything like that, you know. And I just got so much admiration for the guy, not just because he played for Arsenal and was a professional footballer, because when he was in his company, you wouldn't have known that, like, you know what I mean? He's just a really good guy. We just had good fun and all that. And I was thinking about what was the greatest, you know, moment when I've been with Kevin and that. And do you know when it was that first message? When he messaged me, like, we'd been talking on Twitter for a while and things like that. And I got a message to just say, like, hi Lee, it's Kevin, I'm down at the Emirates today, like, you know, do you want to meet up? And it was the best message that I could have ever had, you know what I mean? Because, you know, we met up that day, and I'll never forget it. I said to him, I was watching the game, but I didn't really enjoy the game. I was thinking, I've got to meet Kevin Campbell, like, what I'm going to say to him and things like that. And then when we just met, it was just like we'd known each other for a long while. And I remember I said to him, like, do you want to go somewhere quiet for a drink, or do you want to go to one of the pubs where, you know, a few of the mates are going to be, and you know, like, it be mad though. He said, come on, let's go where it's going to be mad, you know what I mean? And that's how it was. And it was. I took him down the pub. You know, imagine how I felt like walking to the pub and all your mates are sitting there, like, going, oh, bloody hell, like, you know.
With an Arsenal legend.
With an Arsenal player, an Arsenal legend, like, and he was brilliant, having photos and things like that. And then, yeah, we just had a great relationship. But we was talking about, funny enough, a little while ago, not that long ago, we had to get on the train to Arsenal, to Finsbury Park. It was just a tube ride of about 10 minutes, 3 minutes. And we'd only met each other for about 10, 15 minutes. And he sat there and I sat opposite each other, and he goes, do you remember that time on the train that we was, you know, I said, yeah. He goes, I sat on that train, and I knew that I was going to be really good mates with you from that moment. And I went, wow, I felt that as well, like, you know what I mean? And that's how it was. And in a way, I think I was glad that he lived in Manchester and I lived down here, because I think we would have been like mad. It would have been mad seeing it, because every time we went out, wherever it was, whether it's just for a cup of coffee or a beer or whatever, it was just fun. He was just such a funny guy, and we just have a, you know, massive. Like, I'm going to miss him terribly.
Yeah. No, it's. I mean, Julian, he was a great guy, and you know, and a great footballer for Arsenal, wasn't he? You know what I mean? Won the FA Cup. I mean, he was reading off some of the stuff the other day that he did. You know?
I mean, I think what summed him up actually was Everton's statement that they put out on Saturday, and what they said was that he wasn't just a Goodison hero. That wasn't just what he was about, and an icon of the English game. He was an incredible person. And what they followed that up, and this really summed it up for me, they said anyone that met him knew that. Now, it was very interesting what they said, anyone that had met him. So you didn't have to know Kevin Campbell that well. You'd only have had to meet him for a few minutes to understand what a person he was. I mean, I was looking back and I thought that, I mean, I remember when David Rocastle died, and I was mortified, and my dad said to me, but you never even met him, you never knew him, why are you so upset from someone you didn't meet? And of course it was because of the player that he was. And I look back and I felt that I really knew Kevin Campbell, but when I actually thought about it, I only ever met him 4 times. But one of the things that his personality was, he made you feel that you were important. And I think you've mentioned it before, is that he's done something that none of us have ever got close to, which is in effect most schoolboys' dreams of playing for your team. But he never talked that much about himself. He was interested as you as a person. I remember the second time that I met him, I wasn't sure whether, you know, I'd met him once, we'd had, you know, we'd gone for a drink. Second time was about 6 months later, and I walked past and he'd been doing the show with you at the Hippodrome, and I just wanted to say, you know, hi, how are you? And that was it. And he initiated the conversation after that. He said, oh, sit down, let's catch up. And he made me feel important, and I really felt that I knew him and he was a friend, even though I actually only met him 4 times.
Yeah, and a great footballer for Arsenal. Let's not forget that. Won the FA Cup, won the league with Arsenal. He was a very important player. I mean, that combination that you know that he formed with Ian Wright. I mean, like, he was a great player.
Well, if you look back at which is something I've been doing the last few days of his Arsenal career, and you got to kind of put this into context. This was before social media. This was before the internet. You didn't know so much about the youth players coming through.
Yeah.
You never heard of them. We didn't go to reserve games or youth games. They just happened, and you'd get a player that would appear as a substitute, maybe, and then sort of gradually become known. But Kevin was known from very early on. There was rumours circulating. There was this kid in the youth team that was coming through. I think one season he scored 59 goals in the youth team. Some of the players started talking about him before he hit the first team. So when he arrived, he was probably one of the first players that I remember that already had a reputation that he'd built. And it was very difficult to build reputations then because of the lack of any type of news. So he very much came on the scene. I think he made his debut in '88, ironically against Everton, and we won 2-1 there. He was competing at the time against, you know, a formidable forward line. Merson had come through, and it was Merson and Smith who were pretty immovable. I thought they'd won the league obviously in '89, and he was put out on loan for about 2 seasons. I think he went to Orient, very successful. And then after that, well, I think Leicester, again very successful. And he gets brought back into the team, back to the club in the 1991 season, which was an incredible season where Arsenal become the nearly Invincibles. And he actually dislodged Merson from that centre forward space. And remember, Merson was very much, the wonder boy of the time coming through into the England team, and it was him and Alan Smith that basically played up front that season.
Yeah, Merson went wide, didn't he?
Merson went wide.
Yeah, no, great play. I mean, lots of tributes coming in from you guys. Ryan Arsenal says, rest in peace, Kevin Campbell. Air Max 90 King says, rest in peace, Kevin Campbell as well. Kevin, a great player and a super nice guy, says Noah Ward. Rest in peace, Big King Kev says Brett AFC. There's just loads of them coming in just saying rest in peace to Kevin Campbell. He helped me to forget about Alan Smith, says Michael. He was a great player, and as we said, great guy as well. Like for me, like when I first met him, like the same with you, Lee, I was like, wow, that's Kevin Campbell. Like, you know what I mean? I got to go and say hello. Go over to him to say hello, and he goes, oh, no, I love your channel, man. Love what you're doing with AFTV. It's brilliant what you do. I was like, what? I was like, he actually knows about the channel, right? So he's going, so I was going, that's great that you know. He goes, I watch it all the time. He goes, I love it, man. He goes, I love it. He goes, I love the passion of the fans. I love what you guys. He goes, keep it up, keep it up. So I was like, wow. And then, after that, we just sort of struck up a friendship. And the thing that I always remember a lot with him is that and this is when I always, I don't know, sometimes this is what I always look at, right, in life, right? People could know you in the good times and big you up and be your friends and everything. It's when the bad times hit. And I've had a couple of rocky times here on AFTV, right? Over the years, we've been doing it for 12 years and we've had some little ups and downs, right? And there's a couple of times in particular, right, when we were coming under a lot of stick, and me personally coming under a lot of stick here on this channel. And one of the first people to ring me, right, and I'm talking about out of everybody, was Kevin Campbell. I picked up my phone and I go, hello? He goes, yeah, Robbie, it's Kev. I go, oh, Kev, how you doing, man? He goes, yeah, listen, man, I've seen that stuff, bro. He goes, you just concentrate on building your channel. You're doing a great job. Don't let these haters put you down. You're doing an outstanding job. What you're doing, and he goes, when you're doing stuff like this is, you're gonna get criticized. You're gonna get criticized, people are gonna come for you, stuff like that, but don't worry about it. You just concentrate on what you're doing and do it well. And, that meant so much to me. I remember coming off the phone and thinking, wow, Kevin Campbell ringing me up to say that, you know what I mean? And the support he always showed me. Like every time I saw him, he was encouraging me. Every single time, he's just encouraging me, saying, brilliant what you do, this, that. And he was just such a positive guy. And I mean, you only had to look at his tweets every day. Like, number one, he used to go, because I used to go to him, hey, you wake up so early. I go, you'll see your tweets, man. I go, your tweet, you send him like 5 in the morning, 5:30, right? And the first message when most of those tweets would be like something like Happy Monday. We used to have his Dicky Bow Thursdays and all those sort of things. Always positive messages. And I'm not just positive life messages, like he's saying to people, that's why it really hit me when I first found out he was sick. I know, a couple of weeks ago when he went into hospital, and I know when he passed away, there's a lot of publications saying he suffered a short illness. We all know, because we knew about it, that it's not exactly been a short illness. No. He's actually been battling with this for over a year, well over a year, isn't it? Maybe.
No, it's
about 4 months.
It's about 4 months, like January was, end of January that he went. But and you don't know with Kevin though.
Yeah,
because he was so.
What it is,
quiet,
he was very secretive about it. He didn't want people to know. We didn't say nothing to anybody. He didn't want people to know about it because it really hit me when I just found out he was sick, because I know he's a guy. He's always in the gym. He's always training. He looked after himself. So I was just like, what?
One of the things that's not. I'll never get annoyed about with Kevin. One of the things that frustrated me with Kevin, he was such a private guy in his life. But when he was ill, he actually didn't tell me. He'd say that I'm all right. Like, do you know what I mean? Like, I remember one day I knew he was in hospital because I'd been told, and I said, "Oh, are you in hospital?" Yeah, it's just for a checkup, And when I went to see him in hospital, like they've got a WhatsApp group, all the Arsenal players and all that, like, you know. And he was showing me messages and all that going through, like from players. Perry was messaging him, Paul Merson and all that, like, and he'd always come back with them. Hey, I'm all right. There's nothing wrong. I'll be out. You know what I mean? Yeah. So none of the guys actually really knew that how bad he actually was, because he didn't let on.
Yeah.
You know, and
because he didn't want to drag the mood down, did he?
He didn't want to drag the mood down.
He just totally wanted positivity around him.
But I'd have loved for him to have seen, I know how much love and support there was for him, because over the last few days, and it has been tough for me. It was tough on Saturday, you know what I mean? Like, and I was talking to Tyrese, who's his son, and I felt him. I felt bad that I was saying I'm really struggling here, like, you know what I mean, like, and he was as well. So he's dead,
obviously, yeah.
You know what I mean? And one thing that we got out of it, and I thank everybody for the messages that were sent and the tributes and all that. And I know that family as well, that the wave of love and support and tributes and all that are a comforting thing. They really are. Like,
no,
you know?
Definitely.
And I'd just love to. Listen, I know that he was loved. You know what I mean? He knows that, but you know, the outpour of love and all that. Like, you know, and I have to say, I know this is Arsenal and everything like that, but Everton treated him like a god, an absolute god. And
you know his record there.
Yeah, it was
quite
unbelievable.
Phenomenal. He's gone there, and they're just about to get relegated.
Yeah,
he scored nine goals in 8 games. He's kept them up. He was there on loan.
Yeah,
and he's the only player. He actually was Everton's top goal scorer, and he only arrived in March.
Yeah,
and he's the only player in Everton's history that's got Player of the Month and not even been an Everton player.
Yeah,
and then of course he's followed that up when he was signed permanently. He scores the winner at Anfield. Now I want to put that into perspective for an Everton fan. Everton didn't then win at Anfield again until 2021. And I think that was during COVID, so I don't think they've ever won since with a crowd there.
Yeah.
So to actually score, it's not like, you know, Arsenal going to Spurs, which happens a lot more often, and getting a win. Everton just don't win at Anfield, so he becomes an absolute legend at Everton. He was top goal scorer there, I think, for 2 of the 5 seasons he was there.
And I actually sat there with him one time, and said to him, "Are you a little bit gutted that record's gone there?" Because it made him. He went, "No, I'm delighted for it." Like, you know, they never. And his words were, "They never take that away from me. It's in history." You know what I mean? And I'm glad we went in there again. Like, he never really loved the light. He did like the light.
He's a humble guy.
Yeah, he's so humble, very humble. I remember a chat with him. You know, Ian Wright did sort of overshadow him a little bit, like, you know. And a typical thing is that Kevin Campbell will be in Arsenal history as the first player to score a hat-trick in the Premier League. He done that. And he gets that hat-trick. And he plays against Swindon, he gets a hat-trick. I don't know if you remember it. Around about Christmas time it was. He scores a hat-trick, winning 3-0 with great, like, you know. And Ian Wright gets probably the best goal that he's ever scored, in my opinion, the best goal that he's ever scored. You know what I mean? And it takes away the limelight of that hat trick. But it never bothered him.
No,
he was never like, you know, so what? I've got the match ball. I've got the hat trick. He was never fussed by anything like that.
No, because he adapted. When Ian Wright came, he basically took his place, and he went to the trainers at that point. Instead of going knocking on George Graham's door, demanding, I want more game time, he went on the training pitch and wanted to know how he could adapt his game to complement Ian Wright, because he understood that he was very similar to Ian Wright, and he wanted to be able to play with him, not just be his understudy. Yeah. And that was a reflection of the guy's mentality, that he understands that if I can't do this, I'm going to complement him. And then he moves out wide. But he was a mainstay of the Arsenal team. You look back at some of our best victories, our big trophies in that time. The cup finals, we played 3 cup finals, obviously with the replay in '93, the FA Cup final. He played every single minute of that game. You go forward the next season when, and George Graham actually calls this his finest moment, when, even more so than Anfield '89, when Arsenal win the Cup Winners' Cup against Parma. He plays in that game. He plays in the semi-final. A little story about the semi-final was that he scores the goal at Paris Saint-Germain and Arsenal winning 1-0. And on the tannoy comes Go West by the Pet Shop Boys, and all the Arsenal fans start singing along to Go West, 1-0 to the Arsenal. So that song, which has always been pretty much my favourite Arsenal song, comes from Kevin Campbell, '94, Cup Winners' Cup final. He scores the goal. Ultimately, we go through.
Yeah, that's brilliant. I mean, the tribute's still coming in. Simon Allen says, rest in peace, Kevin Campbell. The Lonesome Gunner says, rest in peace, Super Kev, at Ease General. Alex Wilden says, Kevin Campbell was a super player, a gentleman, so strong. Rest in peace, Kevin Campbell. Always be in our Arsenal fans' hearts, King Kev. And Arthur Sleep says, great content, guys. For me, the club needs to do more in recognising this era of players. Statues for Kev, Righty and Rocky, he says. Andy says, it's incredible that Kevin Campbell, Paul Davis, Michael Thomas, David Rocastle, Ian Wright and Kenny Sampson were all living in Brixton, Camberwell and Forest Hill, and all made it to Arsenal. Kevin Campbell, of course, grew up in Brixton. Boys. Brixton boy, they're all South London boys, but he was a Brixton boy. Did Brixton proud, man. Did Brixton proud, did South London proud, did himself proud, you know what I mean? Julian, the story I always remember, right, is the one that made me laugh was the one of you nicking his hat. Yeah. Now tell us about that story. The story of you nicking Kevin Campbell. This is a typical Julian story. Well, and then we've actually got it, right? A response that Kevin Campbell did to finding out that you nicked his hat.
Yeah, because I mean initially I was embarrassed by the story, and the initial story I told was that a player gave me the hat in '91, where we were supposed to be playing Manchester United. We played Man United, and Liverpool play Forest just before. Liverpool lose to Forest, which means Arsenal already champions before they go on the pitch. At the end of the game, it wasn't the official trophy ceremony, but they get given a trophy just to parade round. A lot of the supporters are throwing the hats and the scarves onto the pitch. The players are picking them up. It is slightly embarrassing for me. I did run on the pitch at the end, and I took the hat off Kevin's head. He was kneeling down, obviously, so I'm not that tall to be able to get it off the top of his head.
He's been doing this stuff for ages then, isn't he? I mean.
And I've taken the hat. I remember he turned round and he goes, "You." I won't repeat the word. It was a part of a lady's anatomy. And it was quite a scary moment for me, and I took the hat and I just ran. I sprinted and I went back. And I didn't
nicked that.
I took the hat.
You took the hat. You nicked the hat.
I took the hat. I've told Lee and yourself this story. I've kind of coughed it once we've known each other a bit better, that I actually did take the hat. And me and Lee both told Kevin
that you stole his hat all those years before. We've got a video, right? This is a video that Lee, you two was at a game, innit? And he recorded.
No, we was out one time having a drink, and
I didn't know him. This is the thing. And you'd been winding me up a lot.
Yeah, I said, like, I told a story. So we were in this drink, we're having a drink and all that, and he said, let's wind him up then, like, you know what I mean? Now you can bear in mind, Kevin's never met Julian. Julian's never met Kevin. So he said, I'll do a video, and this is the video that we then sent to Julian.
Watch this video.
Right. Julian, you're an absolute wrong un, mate. And let me tell you, I want my fucking hat back. And do you know what? Lee's told me you want to go and sit with them mugs at the toilet bowl.
So I wasn't sure, but I thought, I know what he's like, so I know that the chances are he's just on the wind up. But I'm not sure, because I've not met Kevin Campbell. And then, fast forward, it was a couple of months later, wasn't it?
Yeah.
I'm doing a fan cam after a game, and just as I'm finishing, I hear this booming voice, Julian, I want my effing hat back. And I've looked up, and where we do the fan cams is by the Tony Adams statue, and there's a ramp up there. So he's big enough anyway. He stood on the ramp, and I've looked up, I thought, is he joking? I'm not entirely sure.
He's a big dude as well.
He's a big dude, and he can come across as very aggressive. And I've gone up, I'm slightly nervous, I have to say, and he kept it going for about a minute, didn't he? When he's just got these eyes, and then he just cracks, and he's got this infectious smile, and he just grabbed me. He goes, "Cool, sir, you can have the hat." No problem. We went for a drink, and it was just a beautiful moment. That smile that came over him.
He was so funny. He was such a funny guy. He was up for a laugh.
It's just up for a laugh. I got a couple of stories I got to tell. I told this on the Forever Arsenal, but there was, because he was always sometimes mistaken for Sol Campbell. Like, you know what I mean? So and he never liked it. I'll be really honest, he never liked it. So we've gone to Old Trafford at Manchester United, we're going through the turnstiles. As he's walked through the turnstiles, this supporter's gone, Sol! Like, Kevin just carried on walking. Sol! Like, and in the end he grabbed up and said, Sol, can I have a photo? He goes, I'm not Sol Campbell, I'm Kevin Campbell. Like, so he says, oh, all right then, Kev, can I have a photo? Like, so he has the photo with him and all that. Like, and then he says he's walking up to go into the ground. I start shouting out, Sol! And he goes, don't you start, judges, don't you start. Like, you know what I mean? He's just a really good guy. And one of the greatest things that we done was for the Parma game, they asked him to come to the Emirates Stadium and do an interview and a day. And he phoned me up and he said, I've been invited to the stadium and to do an interview and a show for the Arsenal TV for guys. And he said, like, do you want to come? And I said, oh, like, yeah, lovely, like, you know what I mean? So we had to meet all the people behind the scenes at the Emirates, and he was lighting the camera, and they was talking about. I'll never forget. They said the main guy at Arsenal turned around and said, "Oh, like, this is your seat here, Lee. You can sit here." Like, and they treated me like a king. You know what I mean? Because I was Kevin's mate, and he'd done the show and everything like that, and we was taken around. All of the Emirates private bits, like just and I'm thinking, wow, just because I know Kevin, I've had all of this, like, And
yeah, the great thing about him as well is that, like, he was a very good pundit as well.
Oh,
very good pundit.
Brilliant.
You know what I mean? He used to do lots of punditry. You'd see him on TV a lot. He'd be on Talk Sport, Sky. He used to do a lot of stuff when it came to Everton in particular. They always used to get him doing loads of commentary for Everton games and, co-commentary and stuff like that. And he was a really good pundit and really loved pundit as well.
Very, very good. Very, very good speaker.
Yeah.
Very,
commanded the room when he spoke.
Yeah, very, very, very good at all of that. Like, very good communicator. Talked really, really well. Always got his point over. None of that, you know what I mean, at the end of it, or like, I do, or whatever. He was very, very articulated in what he said and what he done.
And he was also very positive, which I liked.
He was very, very positive as well on all of his teams.
He wasn't having too much criticism of Arsenal.
No, nor any of his teams.
No, and he was, and I think people forget, he was actually an Arsenal supporter.
Yeah.
I mean, he talks about, I was reading something, he was saying he talked about his first ever Arsenal game. Got something, I think it was about May 77. He went to his first Arsenal game. It wasn't a particularly memorable game, such they drew 1-1 with Middlesbrough. But what he remembers that day and what he crows on about, and this proves what an Arsenal fan he was. He remembers, and the reason he enjoyed it so much was because it was the day that Spurs got relegated.
Yeah, so there you go. So, yeah. But it was genuinely like we used to go to Arsenal games, like sometimes. Like we was lucky to be in corporate like that time. I remember we done the interview when we come out drunk, like, you know what I mean? And Kevin's going, well, I'll tell you this now, we're going to beat Atletico Madrid. Like. And I said, how many beers you had? Like, but he was always like that, and he was a very, very passionate fan. when Arsenal, when we went watch games and all that, if Arsenal scored, he was going as mad as anybody else.
He was
Like,
a
proper Arsenal fan, like, you know.
But he also didn't let his career go downhill when he left Arsenal.
No.
You know, it went almost, stronger.
Yeah, he had he went to Nottingham Forest because of Frank Clark was the manager at Orient, and that was one of the reasons he went there.
He had a good loan spell
So
there.
he had a good loan spell there, so he went to Nottingham Forest. Great story with Nottingham Forest is that when he was sold, Pierre Van Hooydonk, if you remember that, he went on strike.
Yeah.
And the reason he went on strike was because they sold Kevin. That was the reason that he went on strike.
That's right. Yeah,
That is true.
It wasn't just because of his personality. Then his playing career, to get them back, it was called the First Division then, not the Championship. He scored 23 goals, and he was pretty pivotal in getting them back up to the Premier League at that point.
And the reason was they had to sell Kevin, I think, for financial reasons. And this is a true story. This is. Pierre phoned him up and said to him, like, I can't believe you've gone and all that. Like, says, well, I'm going on strike. And Kevin went, you can't do that, you know what I mean? So he says, watch me. And he did. He did went on strike.
Famously.
For months. Famously. It was a massive thing, you know. Not, by the way, the wrong thing to do, you know what I mean? And Kevin advised him not to do it. But he did, you know what I mean? And, that was because of that. But the Everton thing, the Everton signing was I think that Kevin loved Everton. Yeah. He loved Everton. Everton loved him, but special because he was an Arsenal fan. Very, very special. But there was a big thing with Everton as well, like
loved it. You don't see many footballers that get loved by two clubs, like proper love by two clubs, and he did. I mean, the Everton fans absolutely adored it. There's one here in the chat who's saying, "Rest in peace, Kevin Campbell's got like a blue heart." He said, "We loved him too much." It's true. The Everton fans absolutely loved him. Like when I've been up there when Everton playing, he get absolutely mobbed.
It was one of the greatest things, Rob, to see is that there was one time we was meeting him after the game and done the interviews and everything like that, and we had to go to meet him in the press thing. We was going back to Manchester, and I knew that he was loved and all that like there. And anyway, so for me, it's a great. I can't, it chokes me up. Like I'm waiting there. I'd say it's a great story. There's a great bouncer on the door, and I said, "Oh yeah, here to meet Kevin Campbell. He's gone." I was, in the Scouse accent. I said, "What do you mean he's gone? He's not here." So I said, "Yeah, he is. I've just spoke to him. And, I've got to meet him here. Like, do you know what I mean? Well, wait here." I thought, how rude of you, you know what I mean? Really rude. Like, if he weren't 6'8", I'd knock him out. Do you know what I mean? Like, so he's gone, and he's come back. He's gone. I'm ever so sorry, Lee. Ever so sorry. Like, he's just coming. Like, do you know what I mean? But you want to be nice to me now, do you? You know what I mean? So anyway, he comes out, and at Goodison Park, the media is on the halfway line, and the pub's opposite. As we come out, honestly, we just got mobbed, and you couldn't see Kevin. You know what I mean? We was on the outskirts of it. It was, and all he kept saying was, "Oh, sorry." Like I said, "Do what you." And it was just lovely to see.
Yeah.
And it took us a good 45 minutes to get to the car. He
even took the Liverpool Scouse fans' favourite, Julian, into an Everton pub. That one made me laugh because
I really didn't want to go either.
No, he didn't.
It was after I happened to call it a challenging place.
Yeah, and
I was keen to get back out as quick as possible. He wasn't having it.
No, he said.
And he took you to the pub, didn't he?
So we said we was going to the pub, and he said, "Come, we go in." We was going back home and we're going to drop him off in Manchester.
You had an Arsenal shirt on as well, didn't you?
Yeah, he had an Arsenal shirt on. So we're just about to walk in, and if anybody knows the Winslow, it's a lovely pub, lovely atmosphere, but it's notorious. It's an Everton, it's a proper Everton fan. Proper.
I mean, they had a big sign, home fans only.
Yeah, home fans only, proper like
I didn't need to read the sign to not want to go in.
So, so as we're just about to walk through the door, Julian's trying to get out of it, like, you know what I mean? I've got my Arsenal shirt on here, like, am I going to be all right? And he said, "Of course you are. You're with me." And we walked in there, didn't we?
They loved us.
And
because we were with him.
Because we was with Kevin. They loved. buying us
Yeah,
drinks.
so it was good. I like that.
You like that part,
Yeah.
didn't you? Like, you know what I mean? So that,
And food.
Yeah, food. They kept coming up to us, didn't
Yeah.
they? Like, you know, people coming up to us and going, "Oh, how lucky you are to know Super Kev," and you know, we wanted to know how we knew him and things
He
like that.
integrated perfectly into that environment.
Yeah.
He was just.
He was just brilliant. Like,
Yeah.
He just went round everybody. I'll tell you, when he walked into that pub, I stood back a little bit to see what the reaction would be like. Do you know what I mean? And everybody just going crazy, like, Kevin Campbell, and we had just probably 2 hours in there.
Yeah.
It's probably a magnificent time, like, you know what I mean? I don't think any other Arsenal fan
Would have dared
would have stepped in there, especially after beating them 1-0.
Yeah.
And but they just
they embraced us because we were with him.
because we was with him. Yeah, the
So
only reason.
Thank you very much for so many beautiful messages that have been coming in. Martin Guy says, my first game, everyone was shouting for his autograph, thinking he was Ian Wright. He came over and signed everything as Ian Wright as well, and that was typical Kevin, right? Miranda says, rest in peace, Kevin. You will always be a legend. Marcus Comfort said that he was amazing. I'm still in shock. So glad I got on one show and had a chat with him. Rest in peace, Kevin, says Glenn S. There's just so many. 54 is too young. 54, that's all he was, says DMYG. Joey AFC largely says, I'm a bit gutted Arsenal didn't win the league for him. Would love it to do it for Kevin Campbell. Would have loved to have done it for him to see. Michael fan says, I think because Everton fans, I don't really understand that one. But Mark T says, rest in peace, our lovely Kevin Campbell. One question to ask everyone, he goes on to say, do you think we have the capabilities of getting 9 points in our first 3 games? We'll discuss that on the next show, but we are just sticking to our tribute today. It's a bit of a different show, a little bit of a shorter show. We're coming live just because we wanted you guys to be able to send in your messages as well. I'm going to ask you guys, what do you think his legacy is going to be? What is Kevin Campbell's legacy going to be?
Oh, that's a great question. I honestly think his legacy will be what you know, the nicest fella in football. I really genuinely do believe that, and the reason being that is that he just had time for everybody, whether it be Arsenal fans, Nottingham Forest fans, Everton fans, Liverpool fans, Spurs fans, or whatever. Like, you know, he just would give your time to them, and I just think that he just carried himself so well. I'm slightly older than Kevin, but you know, I had like this admiration for him, the way he conducted himself and the way he was, and sought out advice from him at times and all that. And I just wanted to be like him in the ways that he was, his demeanour and everything like that. As a footballer, just a powerhouse of a man, you know what I mean? And successful. I think if you talk to anybody, he got the best out of his ability through hard work, determination, and had a wonderful career. And 54 is too short. You know, he didn't even celebrate his 54th birthday because he was in intensive care. So it's you know, and the one thing anybody who's watching this and everything like that, and I know Kevin was like that, just enjoy your life, enjoy the people you got around you. And I think that the positivity that he brought to anybody that met him is the special thing for me, really.
Yeah, I mean, I'd like to reinforce that. For me, it's the positivity of his attitude, not only to life, but when he was talking about Arsenal, it didn't matter if Arsenal weren't doing so great, he'd see the plus side. So when other people are getting angry and despondent and, you know, the worst thing, we're going to get relegated, we're going to lose this, we're going to lose that. No. He was looking at the positives. He was looking at football and looking at Arsenal as an entertainment, something to be enjoyed, not something to get angry about. He kept his anger on the pitch and he channeled that anger to be successful. But when he was off the pitch, and what I've seen of him, he was purely positive and purely enjoying life.
Yeah, no, definitely. I think it's a similar thing for me, just like a guy that was so positive. as I said, a humble person, right? When you think of all he's achieved in the game, not just on the pitch, but even in TV punditry and radio punditry, and he'd go up to any ordinary fan and have a big convo, and that's what he was like. He had, like you said, he had time for everybody. He was genuine. There was no fakeness about him. Everything was genuine. He's a person who thought about people, and I think I sort of messaged that out last week Saturday that all right, all the stuff he did on the pitch, absolutely brilliant, fantastic. But actually, where I think his legacy is going to live on even beyond that is just him as a person.
Yeah.
And, you only have to look at all the tributes from all the different players and all the different people in the media and people that he knew that where he just touched them just to realise what sort of person he was. It was beyond football.
Yeah.
He was just a genuine, humble, nice person, a person that cared about people, and, his legacy is going to live on for years and years and years. And his legacy in football even lives on. His sons are footballers, we know, but his legacy, as a person, and like you said, Lee, it's about living our lives and having no regrets and enjoying ourselves and not always just being caught up in bullshit, really, which is something he never was.
It was, I've never ever seen, never nasty. Look, we're all humans and or whatever, but he wasn't that side of him nasty. There wasn't nasty side to him, like, do you know what I mean? I think my biggest, we're all lucky we met him, and that's the thing that I got. He's my mate and all that. But do you know what? He always wanted me to be successful. Like, do you know what I mean? He was proud if I'd done something good. You know what I mean? He'd always be on the phone saying, "Well done, that. Well done, this. Good show. Great this." Very, very proud. And one of the other things that it's a big admiration from him, and something that I've certainly took of that, is if he was going out I never ever sat there thinking that he was famous. He never ever made it look like, I'm this famous footballer. When you went out of him, he was just Kevin Campbell, the nice person. He was never flash about it, never sought out any sort of things and all that. He just enjoyed life. If someone come up and asked him for a photo, he'd give it. If someone come up and give him his time, he'd give it. But he was never looking for it. Do you know what I mean? Like, you would never. I never ever sat there and thought to myself, "Wow, you played for Arsenal," and do you know what I mean? Like, and that. And I admired him because he played for Arsenal. Do you know what I mean? Like, you know what I mean? Like, oh wow, you've lived out the dreams that I wanted and all that. Like, but he'd never ever. You would never know that he was Kevin Campbell, the footballer, Kevin Campbell, the pundit, the professional, famous person. He was just Kevin Campbell. Yeah. And that's what I think is such an admiration, that of all the years of being a footballer, it's never changed him as a human being, and I think that's the biggest compliment I can give him.
All right, let me just run through some more messages. Konya88 says, Kevin is a people's champ. Michael says, I think he was a great example of being a great person. Alex Wilden says, I remember my first match getting into North Bank for £3, and Terry Neal was the manager. Don Howe was there too. I remember Limpar putting through Kevin through to score a pucker goal. Airmax 90 King says, I've had a Kevin Campbell picture in my WhatsApp profile since Saturday. Richard Gross says, so sorry to hear about Kevin Campbell. He will always be remembered as a great person. Rest in peace, King, says G-Zone. Franklin Goodwin says, proper South London geezer was Kevin Campbell. I started supporting Arsenal because of him and Ian Wright. Rest in peace, Super Kev. Andy Love says, I don't say this lightly, but I would love to see a statue of him at the Emirates one day. One of the nicest legends. And Alex Wilden goes on to say, I remember when his chant, Super Kev, Super Kev. Brilliant player. He was definitely one of our own. Graham says, Super Kevin Campbell. I am a Liverpool fan, but he always came across as a humble man, super player, no age at all. Rest in peace, Kevin Campbell. Sam also says, rest in peace, Kevin Campbell. T-Dog says, been hard for the family, especially my granddad, as he met Kev and became friends with him. Rest in peace. AFC Joey Largy says, Kevin Campbell, they don't make people like him anymore. And one of our own, and a proper gentleman, says Alex. Gonna leave it there. You know, I've been to different Invincible shows today, but it's nice to get you guys sending in your tributes. It's a really sad time. Very young guy, you know, I mean, 54 years of age, with his whole life in front of him. But listen, when your time comes, nothing we can do about it. You know, we don't know the reasons, but he's gone to a different place, and we all know he's gone to a good place. So Lee, I want to thank you very much.
Pleasure.
Thank you, Julian, as well, for all the, you know, both of you guys, so many nice stories there. It's just, once again, really sad. Kevin Campbell, a real Arsenal legend, a real gentleman, a real special person, passes away at the age of 54, but he will never ever be forgotten by anyone here on AFTV and by any Arsenal fan, Everton fan, any football fan. A genuine great guy.